Hi, my name is Cesar Fernandez. I am 46 years old. I'm currently incarcerated in Pennsylvania. I was incarcerated for corrupt organizations, third-degree homicide, and drug-related offenses out of Berks County, Pennsylvania, back in 2005. The reason I'm on here is I'm requesting assistance from a law professor, legal student, Innocence Project, or somebody that can help me get my appeals in to overturn my sentence. I've written about 40 to 60 innocence projects and law professors in the last 15 years. None of them have written me back. They've given me no excuses of why they haven't written me back. But one has told me that they were overloaded and most innocence projects won't respond because there's no DNA involved in my case. I don't see how an innocence project can turn you down if there's no DNA involved in your case when you're telling them that you're innocent. Before prison, I was in the military and I had technical training from Berks Technical Institute and computer repair and networking. So I'm a fairly educated person, and I'm just trying to get back to life outside of here for a crime that I did not commit. I would like to be with my children and my family. My parents are still around. As you can see, I have two other individuals with me here. There's my brother, who's helping me out with a lot of the stuff on the technical side of it, as well as my cousin Anthony. I thank them for everything. I thank you guys for listening to this as my intro. I'll be getting into more details about my case as we could go further down, but I am serving 24 and a half to 49 years for these charges.
Cesar here will talk about some important points. So go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, everybody, for staying with us. Like I said, I apologize for running out of time on the last one, but there's some really important things that I need help with, and I believe is to receive a fair trial or a fair shake at justice. There's a bunch of things that happened during my trial that I'm sure are not legal. I'm going to go ahead and tell you about a dozen issues that I had that happened during my trial. I was not allowed to retain my attorney of choice. That was the first thing that happened during this prosecution. Out of 5 co-defendants, I was the first one to go on trial, and I mentioned that because when the judge started my trial, she told the jury that I conspired to commit these crimes, not maybe, or I could have. She told the jury that my co-defendants were guilty and I conspired to commit these crimes. So she had already convicted me before my trial had started and convicted my co-defendants in the eyes of the jurors before my trial had started. In telling them that I was guilty, she compared us to big crime mob bosses like the Gambinos and the Lucchese's and things like that. And I don't think it was very fair because that's something that sticks in the juror's mind and you can't really unring that bell once you ring it. During the beginning of the trial, after the trial had started, several days in, the judge tells the DA how to prosecute me, giving them instructions to add an accomplice liability clause. So being that I wasn't at the scene of the crime or part of the crime, she tried to make me like a third party, twice separated accessory. So she tells the DA to add accomplice liability, which is very far out of her purview. They paid an inmate to testify against me. Berks County Crime Alert paid an inmate on my block $1,500 to testify against me, to construct an affidavit saying that I admitted to him about my crime, and I didn't even get to confront this accuser during my trial. The affidavit that he wrote went back to the jury pool, which is an unauthored affidavit, And that is, I mean, 100% completely illegal. The judge misreads the jury instructions. She, during the ending of my trial, she tells the jurors, uh, in order to find him guilty of third-degree murder, you have to find that he gave him the gun. Well, that's not part of the jury instructions, and that actually never happened. So she directed the jurors to find me guilty because of a statement that the DA made. All the evidence in my case was my co-defendant's evidence. They have, on me, they have no money, no bags, no drugs, no scale, no customers say they bought drugs off of me, no pictures of me on a corner, no confidential informant buys, nothing. All the evidence that they have on this case is pertains to my co-defendants and the prosecution against them, but they used it in my trial against me. A little bit back to the beginning, there were, I have what's called a Batson issue. And my jury pool was not from the inner city. I come from a pretty diverse inner city, but everybody in my jury pool, except for one person, was a minority. And this minority was taken off my jury pool because they said he looked like he did drugs. So there was no Hispanics and no black people on my jury pool. And all these people, the pool was contaminated from the beginning because I had like my high school principal was on there. The counselor from the unit of the county prison where I was being housed at was in my jury pool. Business owners from out of the city were there. So nobody from the inner city or anybody of any minority was in my jury pool. That is a Batson issue all day. That is a complete mistrial. During the middle of my trial, the judge, out of the blue, takes a vacation. So we went 5 to 7 days during trial. Then she takes a vacation and then comes back. And all these jurors were not even allowed to talk to anybody or go to work. So they had to take time off. She even told one of the jurors they couldn't take a scheduled vacation, which they had pre-scheduled before my trial, because they had to stay for trial. But the jurors had to stay for trial, but the judge did not have to. It is unprecedented for a judge to take a vacation in the middle of a trial, and this is what happened there. So those are the main things. And then I got sentenced to 23 and a half to 49 years. So I got 12, 4, 5, and 2 years, 12 years, 4 years, 5 years, 2 years, and 6 months. So 23 and a half to 49. Now, the confusing part about that is I only have one case, but I got separate sentences for the separate offenses. But because of the way they constructed the prosecution, they made it a corrupt organizations case. So what I mean by that is corrupt organizations, you need 2 charges to make one. So you need a weapons charge and a racketeering to make a corrupt organizations, or you need, in this case, a homicide and a drugs to have corrupt organization. It couldn't be drugs and drugs, or it couldn't be assault and assault, but it had to be 2 separate charges to make corrupt organization. Now, because you need 2 to make one case, which is a corrupt organizations case, you should only get 1 sentence. But in this case, they gave me 5 separate sentences for this offense, which is very unfair. I don't think that should be that way. I can understand if they stopped and arrested me here and I was out on bail, and they stopped and arrested me here and I was out on bail, and then you got 2 cases. But I got 1 docket, 1 corrupt organizations charge, and now I'm serving 50 years. That is very unfair. So with that being said, I looked at what happened with my lawyer. Now my lawyer, which is He did no investigation on my case at all. Did not check to see where I was at, what happened. Did not even listen to the audio tapes for the wiretap. He admitted to not listening to any tapes. He made no arguments during trial. Every time an officer or somebody testified against me, he would say, so stipulated. Stipulated means they're agreeing to everything that they're saying, whether it's true or not. He didn't stipulate, he stipulated to everything, which I know there's protections for that with case law, but my appeals won't go anywhere because I've been bringing those up. And he called nobody on my behalf. I'm ex-military. I've worked my whole life, but he put nobody on the stand to testify to my character or my whereabouts. So those are the main issues with my trial. I did miss that one thing about the jury. The judge had conversations with the jurors outside of the courtroom in the hallway, and they're not allowed to do that. One of the jurors actually had the personal number of the judge, and the judge actually told her, if you have any questions or have any problems, call me directly. Judges are not allowed to do that. So I've pursued that avenue too under my appeals. I've written to the disciplinary board, to the Supreme Court, and the disciplinary board of the Supreme Court told me in order for a judge to be investigated, they need 400 claims of malfeasance or something going wrong with that judge before they even open a case. So 400 people have to have mistrials or something like that before they even look at a judge for doing wrong. I also don't believe that's very fair.
Okay, that's a lot of good information. It is really surprising that you said the Supreme Court, right? They're the ones that said 400 cases, 400 occurrences.
Yeah, the disciplinary board of the Supreme Court oversees judges and attorneys. Now, I don't know what the status for an attorney is. If you claim that an attorney did something wrong, I did that when I first got shipped out to Michigan for the overcrowding in Pennsylvania, and they said by the docket, it looks like my attorney's doing his job. But by the docket, anybody can look like they're doing their job. But when I raised the question about the judge, that's when I was informed that they need 400 issues with the judge before they even look at the judge for doing something wrong.
That's a lot of mistakes that can happen that they can just get away scot-free then. I mean, it sounds like you give anybody 400 chances. I mean, that sounds like a unproportionate number that seems unfair. Just in any occurrence, in any trial, in any that's
in any profession.
Yeah, anything. So those are all great points. And we'll stop this section here, and we'll go further and maybe have some questions for people to get them answered and see what we can come up with. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Questions or want to know more? Let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe for more. Contact information for Cesar Fernandez will be in the description.